am not obeying Baba's directions, that is also a sin. And I remember that, mostly in every religion, there is the mention of sins of commission. That is, when you do what you're not supposed to do, that counts as a sin. But in Christianity, there is mention of sins of omission also, which means when you don't do what you're supposed to do, that's also a sin. So one category of sins are what you commit. So when people talk about sins, they usually talk about, I have committed this sin or I have not committed this sin, which means that I have done what I am not supposed to do or I have not done what I am not supposed to do. But there is a different category of sin, which is when you don't do what you're supposed to do. And in that, one very important aspect is when Baba comes and Baba tells us what I am supposed to do. So Baba is giving us all the directions about what we are supposed to do. And then Baba says that if you don't do what you're supposed to do, that also counts as a sin. And Baba says that the most important aspect of this kind of sin is not remembering Baba. Not remembering Baba constantly. Now, I want to talk about this big thing that Baba says that, not remembering me constantly will also count as a sin, because first thing is you know the importance, the worth of Baba's remembrance. We are the only children in the whole world who know the worth of Baba's remembrance. And what is Raj Yoga? Raj Yoga is basically the method of considering yourself a soul and remembering Baba with love. And this Raj Yoga is something that Baba comes to teach us from the soul world. And Baba says, I come all the way from the soul world to teach you how to remember me, how to consider yourself to be a soul and remember me. And if you don't do that much, then that is like committing a sin. And today I was just thinking about some things, like when we talk about constant remembrance, so Nirantar Yad or constant remembrance when we talk about. So Baba has always told that, the right method leads to success. Vidhi se siddhi. Right? So there is a method to do everything. And of course, the primary method is you forget your body, your bodily religions, bodily relations, and sit in the awareness that you are just a soul and you have all relationships with sweet Baba. And in that pool of relationships, you experience yourself to be like Baba. So remember Baba and draw in the qualities of Baba. So what is the method for remembrance? The first thing is how to do it, right? So how to do it is sit in the awareness that, I'm not this body, not anything around me, not the relationships, not the job I do, not the dress I wear, nothing. So, not the religion I follow. I'm just a soul, and all my attainments, all my relationships, everything that I have and I'm going to have is related to Baba. And take your attention to Baba in the soul world. And there, Baba is the ocean of all virtues, all powers. And I sit before Baba as the child, and I draw into myself those same qualities, virtues, and powers that Baba has. So, this is Raj Yoga. Now, Baba teaches us this beautiful method, but first thing is how to do it, second thing is when to begin. So, you cannot begin practicing Raj Yoga in the day. The beginning is always in Amrit Vela. So, if you have to construct a building, the building is constructed by first laying the foundation. Can you say that I'll lay the foundation later and then let me just construct the building? No. You can make a plan first, that's okay. So, even if somebody has not started getting up at Amrit Vela, then they can just through the day they can plan that I'm getting up at Amrit Vela and I'm remembering Baba and all that stuff. The planning can happen, but really drawing the powers from Baba, that cannot happen if I'm sleeping in Amrit Vela. So just know that you can jot down the plan of the building without laying the foundation, but you cannot construct the building without the foundation. Similarly, when we are not doing Amrit Vela, then we are just laying down the plan. So, there is a lot of planning that goes on for souls who are not yet getting up at Amrit Vela. So, they will just sit in meditation and they can create a visual. So, you can just create a visual that I'm a soul, I'm God's child, and Baba is giving me the strength and power, and I'm getting up at Amrit Vela and I'm doing everything according to Srimad. So that's like just creating a plan, but the execution must start where it must start. So, first step first, getting up at Amrit Vela and sitting in a very focused manner. So very relaxed, very with love in your heart, but very focused with great concentration. I have to sit and just see myself as a soul and draw in Baba's love and light, and the light of purity, the light of truth, the light of power, the light of spiritual unconditional love. So whatever Baba has, and how do you make your Amrit Vela better? So you see that so everything depends on the intellect. So let's say you see that if somebody is not so let's say you use a gas in the kitchen and you have no knowledge of what are the signs of a gas leak. Okay, you don't know what are the signs of a gas leak, you don't know the sound it makes or the smell there is, then can you avoid an accident? No, you don't know the signs of a gas leak. So similarly, you see that when we say that sit in Amrit Vela and draw the light of love, light of peace, light of purity, how do you understand Baba's love? How do you understand Baba's purity? How do you understand Baba's peace? Only when you are reading the Murli very well. And this Murli is our first and most concrete connection with Baba's mind and buddhi. And when we read the Murli with a lot of love, and then we can, we get a taste of, and it's very magical that, the Murli can actually give you a taste of what purity, love, peace feels like. So, the lock on our intellect opens, and you can actually get the idea, you can get the experience of what love, peace, purity, super sensuous joy or spiritual power feels like. And when you read the Murli, you get an idea, but then how do you build that idea? In Amrit Vela Yoga. So you know what Baba's love feels like when you read the Murli, but when you sit in Amrit Vela Yoga, then you draw into yourself that love, and you experience that love from Baba. So, there's a difference between tasting something and eating a full platter of it. So, just like, you get a taste of what Baba's love feels like. You get a taste of what purity feels like. You get a taste of peace in the Murli. And you want to have a full platter of it. Only when you eat a full platter, then it's going to give you the nourishment that the soul needs. So then you sit in yoga, and you sit in that experience. You build that experience of being in constant experience of Baba's love and peace and joy and truth and purity and power. So Baba says, just sit in Amrit Vela and experience this. So Baba gives a taste of all this in the Murli, and then we build on that taste and experience it. And when you experience something, so just like you eat an apple and then apple becomes a part of the body, similarly when you taste the taste of love and peace, it becomes a part of you. You just sit in communion with Baba and keep experiencing Baba's love, Baba's joy, Baba's purity, Baba's power, and then it starts becoming a part of you. And you see that when you sit like this in Amrit Vela every day, then something inside you is shifting. And I feel, the deepest transformations and the transformation of the heart, it takes place when we sit in loving communion with Baba in Amrit Vela. And then what you do is, it's very important that when you get up from Amrit Vela, you pay attention to staying antarmukhi. So, pay attention to just staying antarmukhi. Antarmukhi means you are inward oriented, and whatever you do is inside out. So, you have filled yourself with all the nutrition, the nourishment that Baba has given you, and now you're in a full place inside. And whatever you do has to be inside out. It has to come from that place of fullness inside. Because the thing is, you see, there are many sanskars that we are carrying from 63 births of our life and body consciousness. And one important sanskar is operating outside in. Yes, operating outside in. And it takes a lot of time to shift that, to shift this whole, this whole control from outside in to inside out. But earlier, because the inside was empty, so the only choice was outside in. But now the outside in is not just a choice, but it's a sanskar. And this is why even when you fill yourself completely with Baba, what happens is when you go and operate in the world, usually you have a tendency to again operate outside in. But if you stay antarmukhi, you will operate inside out. For example, let me tell you something. So it is very interesting. The other day, there is this brother, and I saw him have his food. So he took his dinner at 6 p.m. Okay, so 6 in the evening he had dinner, and then he was doing some seva and he forgot. And he usually has dinner at 8. So what happened is, when it was 8 again, he said, "I'm very hungry, give me dinner." So I said, "But you had your dinner." So suddenly he smiled and he said, "Oh, I forgot, I had early dinner today." And then I said, "No, if you're hungry, then you can eat again." So he said, "No, I'm not hungry. It's just that, it's a habit, and every day I eat at 8. So today I forgot that I had my dinner at 6. So you see that if you are not very aware, you sometimes even forget that you have eaten. So just think about a similar situation when you filled yourself completely with Baba's virtues and powers and love, but you forget that you're not empty. You forget that you can operate as a giver. You don't need to beg, because I have seen this, that Baba always talks about the integrity of thought, word and act. And what happens is, many a times you are doing Amrit Vela, you're filling yourself with Baba's light and might, but when and I have seen this, there's this one sister, she does very good Amrit Vela, but then when she gets up from Amrit Vela, she would just start talking in her normal tone and in her, so there will be no trace of Amrit Vela in her behavior. Why? Because and her normal tone is pretty abnormal, so she she talks very harsh. So that kind of, again, she'll get up from Amrit Vela and she'll start talking like that. So I always tell her that, keep that treasure, that the powers and the love and the virtues that you drew into yourself, just keep that with you, hold that within, and then come into action. It requires some level of, conscious living for that. And living inside out is a very conscious stage, and you can only stay this conscious when you are practicing antarmukhi. If you're going too much into thinking and seeing and hearing, so you're using too much of your senses, then it's very difficult to stay antarmukhi. So this is the thing, that when you come into action, you must come into action inside out, and then you build on the good karma that you're doing. So every action of yours has to be knowledgeful, loveful, peaceful, whether it is the act of drishti, whether it is the act of talking, whether it is the act of engaging with somebody, whether it is the act of doing work, cooking food, whatever it is, just fill every act with love, peace and the energy of truth. And Baba says that when you keep doing that, then this will help you in overcoming the force of Maya. So this will help you, because your stage, and you see that in the world also it is very proclaimed these days, that if you are not taking care of your immunity, then nobody can save you from falling sick. Yes, nobody can save the body from falling sick. Similarly, if you don't build spiritual immunity through remembrance and karma done in remembrance, so karma done in remembrance, karma that is knowledgeful, peaceful, loveful, powerful. And if you're not keeping your stage inside out, then what happens is the Maya, or which is like the germs that are there in the physical world, similarly in the spiritual realm there is Maya. So weak thoughts, temptations, fears, they are all there in the atmosphere. So if you are surrounded by souls who are having very weak thoughts, or you are surrounded by souls who give up very easily, or there is fear in the atmosphere, there's a lot of temptation in the atmosphere, there's a lot of greed in the atmosphere, then it will start affecting you. Or it's a vicious atmosphere, it will start affecting you. So, and what do you think the world is all about these days? It is all about vices. So Baba says that if you want to protect yourself from Maya, then you have to build your spiritual immunity, you have to build your spiritually powerful stage. And the foundation is good remembrance of Baba and karma done in constant remembrance of Baba. And then what happens is, if we don't do this and we are opening the door to Maya, then what will Maya do? Maya will come and gobble you up, and Maya will make you act out of temptation, act out of fear, act out of vices. And then what happens? If you keep acting out of vices, then slowly, gradually, this little light that had entered the soul will also stop entering, because that door will get closed. And from my personal experience, I'll tell you, I don't know how much I can see my own journey as a witness, because obviously there's some amount of body consciousness, but as a Nimit Sevadhari, I have seen many souls' journey. And in many cases, what I've seen is souls who came to Baba. When they came to Baba, Baba opened the intellect, and you must understand that when you recognize Baba, it is your honest effort which leads to Baba opening the lock on your intellect, and then you start recognizing Baba. And I have seen souls who came to Baba who recognized Baba very well, and they started following Shrimad, and they started making efforts. But then slowly, gradually, one day we realized, many years later, that suddenly they started speaking and behaving in a manner which made us, feel that probably they don't recognize Baba anymore. Probably they don't recognize what this is all about, and this is all about creating your fortune for heaven, and that they don't understand anymore. And why is it that somebody who understood something 3 years back is not understanding it anymore? Because you see, this lock on the intellect, it starts coming up again. Why? Because we are not paying attention to Baba's Shrimad. And the most important Shrimad is, remember Baba in Amrit Vela, fill yourself with Baba's virtues and powers, and have integrity in your thought, word and action. It's not like you think about, I'm a soul and I'm peace, and Baba is the ocean of peace, Baba is my father, and you draw into yourself the light of peace, and then all day you are acting in a not peaceful manner. So you have to pay attention to bringing integrity between your Amrit Vela and your whole day. Because if you don't do that, it's not going to come naturally. So everything in Sangam Yug requires effort. So if you just build the foundation, does the building get built on its own? No. You have to again build the building also. but the foundation helps. Similarly, the morning Amrit Vela will help, but then because of that, whatever stage you have built, you have to sustain it during the day, and you have to act knowledgefully, lovefully, powerfully, peacefully. You have to choose your actions, and the most important thing is staying antarmukhi. So this is something that that I was just thinking about, and you see that it's very important to realize that we have this fixation with, we in a body conscious world, we are very fixated with the external appearance. So if you talk to people in the old world, they will tell you that if I can't see the soul, it doesn't exist. If I can't see God, He doesn't exist. So there is this fixation with the appearance, the external appearance in the old world. And you see that people can't see the coronavirus, but they believe in it. People can't see the atom, but that atom has, the knowledge of the atom has made us create atomic power, which can be used and misused enormously, right? So Baba says that similarly, knowing yourself as a soul, knowing your atmic power is bigger than knowing atomic power. But Baba gives us the introduction of that atmic power, that you are a tiny being of light, but you are Master God. Yes, you are Master Ocean of Peace, Master Ocean of Knowledge, Master Ocean of Love. And these things are big powers. So knowledge is power, peace is power, love is power. And it is said that love transforms. Purity is almost something that can change the quality of everything. So Baba says that you have to I have made you aware of these powers, but until and unless you sit in soul consciousness, if you don't dwell on these powers, if you don't sit in the awareness that I have the power of peace, and this power of peace can work wonders. It can calm down atmospheres, it can calm down souls, it can make them look deeper inside themselves. That is the power of peace. It can give relief to nature, it can take away all the tiredness of everyone and everything around me. But do I even sit in that consciousness? So Baba tells us, and you just think about it, who is Baba? Baba is just a tiny point of light. Yes, and Baba doesn't even have a body of his own, but he is the ocean of knowledge, the ocean of love, ocean of peace. So even by taking a body on loan, he is able to transform the whole world. He is able to talk to us, he is able to mold us, inspire us, he is able to align us with the truth, he is able to motivate us into doing things that we never thought we would ever do. And when Baba is able to do all of that, why is he able to do all of that? He is just a tiny being of light. But he is able to do that because he is the ocean of love, ocean of peace, ocean of purity, ocean of joy, ocean of power. And why do you feel so attracted to the Murli? Why do you feel so attracted to Baba's Gyan? Because Baba's Gyan makes you touch that experience of love and peace and purity and true joy. So, when you read the Murli, you get a glimpse of that vibration of peace and joy and purity. And that's why we are so attracted to Baba's Gyan. And Baba says that you are my child, you are made in my image. And when you hold that Gyan and hold my virtues and powers in yourself, then you can be as powerful as me. And what is the biggest power? The power to transform. And Baba says that you can also be the instrument for transforming matter, transforming atmospheres, transforming souls. But you have to draw into yourself that which is me. And the method for doing that is knowledge and yoga. And Baba says that the method to clean yourself of all the rust that you have accumulated is to soak yourself in the ocean of knowledge. So do you understand that when there is iron which is rusted, what do? You soak it in paraffin, and then that paraffin takes away all the rust of the iron. But if you just soaked it and removed it, will the rust be removed? No. You have to keep it, for some hours or some days, and just keep it soaked. Similarly, Baba says, just soak yourself in the ocean of knowledge, because the knowledge that Baba gives is not just knowledge. Baba says that one virtue, one virtue is an amalgamation of all virtues. So Baba's knowledge gives you the experience of Baba's purity, love, peace, joy, everything. And this is why Baba says, soak yourself in the ocean of knowledge. So just keep your intellect and mind busy in the churning of knowledge all day. And when you keep your mind and intellect busy in that, then what happens is, whenever you come into action knowledgefully. And then knowledgeful actions make other people also get a taste of Baba's love and peace and joy, because they comfort the other soul. So Baba says, this is the way you remove the rust on yourself. So knowledge and remembrance have to be, paid attention to. And it's not that just by listening to classes we will get reformed, but when we churn on the classes, when we churn on the murlis, when we sit in remembrance and practice that. So these days there is this, I remember there is this sister who told me that I have watched 15 YouTube videos of how to cook one recipe. So she was trying to make some recipe, and then she watched 15 different videos of that recipe, and she said, I can talk to you about how to cook that thing for 2 hours at least, because I have all the information that you need for cooking that recipe, but I have not cooked it. And can you taste it without cooking it? You cannot taste it without cooking it. So I said, you spent time, 15 hours you spent learning the recipe. You can talk about it at length, but can you taste it without going into the kitchen and actually trying it? So she said no. But so you see, this is sometimes, in this age of digital, bloom, this is what we are doing. We are learning the recipe for peace and happiness, and learning, because knowledge is also a very big form of power. So even learning it gives us happiness. But then if you don't sit and remember Baba, then can you taste the power and the, because sometimes I've seen that souls who understand knowledge, talk about knowledge, share knowledge, they don't feel powerful, feel loveful, feel peaceful inside, because that's the contradiction that's happening these days, because you are learning all the recipes but not cooking. So I talked about how to cook today. Because if you don't get up at Amrit Vela, if you don't enter the kitchen, how do you cook? And entering the kitchen is doing Amrit Vela. So if you don't sit at Amrit Vela, how do you call Baba into your mind space, and how do you draw in the love and light? And then how do you taste it without applying it all day? So if you just cook the recipe and keep it and don't taste it, then it doesn't translate into taste in your mouth. Similarly, cooking happens in Amrit Vela, and then you have to eat it all through the day by putting into action, putting into action the love and peace and joy and power and purity that you drew into yourself. And that's when you get the taste of Baba's virtues and powers that Baba is giving us with so much, so much hope and faith that yes, my children will embody it and become like me.